If you're stuck and struggling to grow on YouTube, you're in the right place. Over the last 5 years, I've worked with over a dozen educational creators to help them scale their channels, generating millions of views, but more importantly, millions of dollars too. In that time, I've realized that the most successful channels follow one simple path. It's not about getting a ton of views or going viral. It's about treating each video like an investment and building up stable audience growth over a long period of time. An audience that will watch each video, support the brands you talk about, and most importantly, convert to the products that you build. So in this video, I'm gonna share that exact path with you step by step, showing you how to start your own educational YouTube channel if you haven't already, and go full-time with that channel in the next year. Before we dive in, grab a pen and a paper because I'm about to go super in-depth. And if you're ready, let's get started. Step 1, you need to find a niche. First things first, you need to figure out exactly who you're talking to. If you look at the vast majority of educational channels, you can see that they have a very clear niche. If you look at a channel like Veritasium, for example, he has a clear niche. He makes beginner science content, but it goes beyond that. He's not just a creator of beginner science content, he is dominating his own subsection of the niche. He creates explainer videos and documentaries, clarifying concepts, applying them tangibly to the real world. Or if I look at Vincent Chan's channel, for example, there's a lot of finance channels in the space, but for him, the thing he does best, the way he's number one within the space, is that he teaches financial literacy, I think, better than anyone else. So when I think of his channel, I think financial literacy. And again, one more example just to prove the point. Johnny Harris, he makes videos about geopolitics, he makes videos about what's happening in the world, but the thing that makes him unique is that he explains things with visuals, specifically maps. So visual geopolitics explained for beginners. That's Johnny Harris's niche. To build some context, let's look at the bullseye method. This is the way that I approach every channel in finding their own niche. So we have a category, a topic, a subtopic, and unique spin. If we go to the category, we're talking the drop-down menu on YouTube. Are you making news content, gaming content, educational content? That's the category, right? Really broad. The topic is where you start to refine a little bit. So if we use Vincent Chan as an example here, his category is education, his topic is finance. So for subtopic, that's going to be a category within your main topic. So if we're looking at finance, for example, there's investing, there's crypto, there's credit cards, there's financial literacy, there's business as a part of finance, in my opinion. So all these different subtopics as well. For Vincent Chan, like we mentioned, it's financial literacy. That's what he talks about. And then the unique spin, this is what makes you stand out. This isn't just, financial literacy documentaries. This is what makes you unique as a person. So if we were to look at Vincent Chan's channel and see what his unique spin is, my takeaway would be beginner concepts. Things and systems you can use to get your finances in order, to budget, to build your financial literacy. There's a lot of systems. You can change your finances in 6.5 months. Here's how. Stop saving money, do this instead. How to save 10K so fast it feels legal. These are systems, these are principles that you can follow. That's his unique spin. It's not just beginner's guide, super broad, long content. These are individual systems and frameworks you can learn as a beginner. That's his unique spin. That's the bullseye method. That's what we're gonna create for your channel now. If you think about it, this bullseye method makes sense too. YouTube's algorithm is designed to identify viewer patterns and provide each viewer with content that they know they're going to love. So the algorithm's constantly comparing your interests, the videos that you watch, the channels you subscribe to and engage with other people to see what compares, what is similar, and what they can recommend to you based on others' viewing habits. And so with that information, they're trying to make recommendations that they think you're going to love based on all of that. Taking that principle, if you try and target one core group of people, it's going to be far easier for the YouTube algorithm to recommend your content to that audience because you're providing a lot of value for that one specific group of people. And then from there, you can expand outwards as much as you want, but you need that initial core group to give you the catalyst of growth. So let's talk about the steps you need to take to find your niche. It is actually pretty simple. There's 3. First things first, you want to identify your skill sets and interests. You can do this by writing out a list of things you're interested in, any skill sets that you might have, and things you think you could create content about or build a business around. Think very broadly and creatively here. Go as wide as you can and just write out a long list of different skill sets and interests that you have. I want you to remember while you're doing this that you don't have to be an expert. It's actually worse if you're an expert because because people are looking for other people who are at the same stage as them to help them learn. I'd probably listen to the beginner if I was in the beginner's shoes. If you're 1 to 2 steps ahead of someone, you are more than qualified to create content about it. You don't have to be an expert. Now, you want to identify the potential of each one of those skill sets and interests next, especially if you have a lot of them. We got to narrow it down. And you can do this by figuring out the potential, basically thinking about how long you could create content about this. Are you interested enough in it, basically? How many ideas can you come up with? And what's the business potential? So think beyond just, am I interested? Do I have a skill set? Could you sell a product down the line? Could this turn into a business? Is this something you could talk about for the next 10 to 15 years and still feel really excited about it? If the answer is no, be harsh. Cross it off, move on to the next. Your goal is to eliminate at least 60% of the ones you have on your list by identifying their potential. Stick only with the ones that you think are worth pursuing. And then step 3, you want to build out a mission statement. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your top 1 to 3 options and build out a mission statement to see how much depth there actually is behind this idea or this interest. To do this, you're going to use the bullseye method, where you're going to identify your category, your topic, your subtopic, and your unique spin. So for Vincent Chan, for example, we have his bullseye here. This is what his mission statement would roughly look like if we were just taking this at face value. Vincent Chan provides budgeting and investing content to help beginners learn financial literacy and start building wealth. Basically taking these categories, these niches, and expanding to who the audience is. That's what you want to do with your mission statement. In order for you to do that, use the bullseye method to identify your category, your topic, your subtopic, how you'd stand out within the space, and then reverse engineer that. Use the unique spin, subtopic, topic, category to build out a mission statement and think about what your goal would be behind starting a channel in this space. Now, at this point, you should have been able to pick at least one niche. Remember, if you have some that are really tough to choose between, you just want to go with the one that you have the most conviction in. In the worst case, you can always go into the other niche later on, or if the first one doesn't work out, because there's a high potential that could still happen. I also recommend that you go as in-depth as possible. You want to make sure you have a very clear focus to be starting with and a very clear audience that you can target. So if you need to refine further, take the time now to do that. And with that said, you should have your niche picked, and we can move on to step 2. Because once you've picked out your niche, it's time to talk strategy. And in order for us to do that, I want to teach you a bit about content formats, because this is one of the most fundamental things about YouTube that people tend to get wrong. Let's take a look. So I like to think about content like a funnel, and this can be just with videos alone, or this can be leading to a product, but you need to have some sort of a funnel or an end goal or a map, I guess, that your channel is building towards. You don't want to just be aimlessly posting content. And this is the funnel that I think is the easiest to start with on YouTube in 2025. And the reason for that is YouTube is a lot more competitive now than it's ever been before. You can't just put out one video and hope that someone's going to become a diehard fan of your channel. You need to nurture that relationship, build up that relationship, and provide a ton of value before someone's even going to recognize your name on their homepage. It's crazy. At the top of the funnel, we have short form content. These are the videos that you see on your shorts feed on TikTok, on Instagram Reels. And it's a lot harder to make money with these videos than it is with long form content. So I like to think of these more as an audience builder, because at the bottom of shorts, you can make a recommendation to your next video. So you capture a little bit of interest from the viewer and then get them to watch more, one of those audience builder videos. These are the mid-funnel audience builder beginner type videos. They're designed to be long form pieces of content that are designed for absolute beginners, to give them a little tidbit or a little concept or framework they can start with. Think of these like challenge videos, quick info walkthroughs, answering questions, stuff like that. These videos are designed for the browse and suggested feeds of YouTube to grow your audience. And at the bottom of this funnel is the true depth and value for your audience, for people who are joining your audience, and sometimes even people who haven't ever heard of you. These are the videos that make the most money and they build the most super fans. These are evergreen videos. These videos target the search feed, not browse and suggested, and they're usually super in-depth, long videos to teach your viewers. So this one right here, the one you're watching right now, this is an evergreen video. These typically won't have great reach initially, but over time they can be huge for your channel, and that's why I like to think of them as bottom funnel. They still will get their own organic reach, but if you're funneling viewers from audience builder videos into a more evergreen video that's going to be good for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and relevant for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's really where you're going to be nurturing that relationship and building up the fans in your audience. So as much as I like to think of this as an audience building funnel, it's also just designed to funnel the views to the evergreen videos, because It is where you make the most money. It's where you build those connections. Why should you trust this system? Is this even something that works? Yes, 100%. Every channel I've worked with has videos in their backlog that have been posted a year, 2 years, sometimes even 5 years before, that are evergreen informational videos that people are searching for constantly. And sometimes that makes up about half of their monthly viewership. So if you're getting 1 million views per month and 500,000 of those views come from backlog content, evergreen content, that means you're going to be making whatever amount you make off of 500,000 views every single month, even if you don't post. Evergreen videos give you an insurance policy that even if you don't create content, you're still gonna get viewership every month. That's why this funnel is so valuable, because you can get rid of the entire top half and still make money. That's how you go full time. So with that in mind, let's build out your strategy. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but what I'd recommend is roughly half and half balance between audience growth and evergreen videos. I like to recommend that brand new creators post a video every single week so that you can start to get feedback on what actually performs well and what doesn't. You want to get good responses on your ideas as well. So I test out unique ideas on YouTube Shorts and aim to post at least 2 per week. If you can, 1 per week is fine though, just so you have different ways that your audience can learn about you. So if you're building out your strategy, remember 50-50 audience growth, evergreen, and you want to put at least 1 to 2 shorts out per week to help get new viewers funneled in and test ideas. So at this point, we've established the niche you're creating content in, and we've built out our strategy. It's time to find some ideas and actually start making some content. The ideas that you come up with are the most important part of the creation process. You don't want to spend too long dwelling on ideas, but without a good idea, what content are you even creating, right? You need a good idea to create good packaging. You need a good idea to have enough to talk about in a 15 to 20 minute video. So ideas are at the root of all good content. Building out that skill is going to be really important, and I want to show you how you can be better at coming up with video ideas right now. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is look at competitors within your niche. So for example, let's say that I'm building a YouTube channel about how to build a YouTube channel. Crazy. It's almost like I'm doing that right now. I would start by looking at competitors within my space, and I'd probably start that with just a basic how-to search. How to start on YouTube. That's going to give me some competitors that are currently doing what I'm trying to do. So what I've done is I've pulled up some competitor channels that create content within the space I'm trying to be in, and some who are just kind of like loosely making content about what I want to talk about. What we're going to do is we're going to look at each of these channels and come up with some video content ideas. So for example, let's take a look at Vanessa's channel here. She has a few videos, how to edit videos for YouTube as a beginner, the YouTube system that helped me hit 950,000 subscribers. If I started YouTube in 2025, this is the exact blueprint to grow. So there's a few video ideas in here that I'd likely want to try and replicate. What I would do is I would take some of these ideas and just write them down. My goal is to get 10 ideas, unique ideas, not repetitive ideas I've thought of before, and write them out somewhere that I can keep track of those ideas. I use Notion personally. This is the Notion setup that I use. So what I would do is I would just go in here and I'd track that idea. So I can take this idea. If I started a YouTube channel in 2025, this is the exact blueprint to grow. I'm going to paste that in here. And this is just a starting point, right? Obviously, this is a direct copy of someone else's title. I'm not going to create that exact video, but it's going to give me a good idea of what people are actually doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 10 ideas between all of these channels and just see how quickly I can come up with those ideas. Okay, so I've just gone through and created a list of 10 ideas that I think are really valuable. Some of them are direct pulls from ideas that I saw, titles that I just copied over. Some are ideas that I came up with myself, and some are just things I thought would be valuable for my audience. Like, for example, why your gear doesn't matter on YouTube, or my YouTube channel isn't growing, should I give up? These are questions that my audience might have if I'm in the YouTube niche. You just need to look at competitors within your space to see what they're creating and use that as the starting point to plant the seeds for new ideas. If you're just getting started, I recommend that for the first month, every single day, you come up with 5 to 10 video ideas. They don't have to be great. My favorite quote is from Jerry Seinfeld. He likes to come up with at least one bad joke every single day. The idea behind that is if he writes one joke every single day, even if it sucks, he's practicing, right? And over time, those bad jokes are going to become better and better and better jokes. So if you have the goal of coming up with 5 to 10 video ideas, you don't judge them based on quality or anything else. You just need to come up with ideas. You're going to get better at coming up with video ideas in general. So maybe that isn't working for you though, and you need other ways you can come up with video ideas. Let me share 3 quick ones right here, right now. Number 1, use tools that can help you. There's great tools out there like 1 of 10, vidIQ, ViewStats, even YouTube Studio has an AI video title creator for you where you can come up with a ton of other video ideas very quickly, or at least a starting point for an idea. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Number 2, what you can also do is you can just write down things that you think are relevant. And number 3, what you can do is take an idea that you've already had, search it in YouTube and see what other ideas exist and use that to create like 5 ideas from one concept. With that said though, not every idea is made equally, and we need to figure out a way to find out what content's worth creating. First thing you want to do is figure out what problems the video solves for your viewers. You want to brainstorm the core value for the people who are going to watch this video. Think about what the main takeaway is going to be for them. Remember that there are thousands of videos posted on YouTube every single second. Why should they care about yours? Why should they commit 20, 30, 40 minutes to your video when there's so much other competition out there? Again, in my YouTube system here in Notion, I've built out a tool that will help us do that. So we're going to take this first idea here. It's actually pretty much the video you're watching right now. What problem does this solve? If I started a YouTube channel in 2025, this is my exact blueprint to grow. This is what the problem solves. It helps new creators to get monetized and start making money faster. Doesn't even have to be long explanation. If you are really writing out a long explanation for the value of the video, chances are it's not actually that valuable, because the clearest, cleanest ideas can be simplified into one short sentence. And you know with high conviction that people are going to love that video. Now, the second step to this process is thinking about the business goals this video will achieve for you. Maybe you've already figured out that the purpose for the viewer is clear, but is this video actually going to make a difference in your business? What is the takeaway for you? You want to think about that now. How does this video get you closer to your goals? Maybe you know this video is going to get sponsored. So your business goal for this is sponsorship revenue, right? It could be as simple as that. Or if you're just getting started, right? You may not have sponsorship revenue as your goal. It could be audience growth, right? Or building connections with your audience that's already there. There are so many different reasons why you might create a video, and you want to be very clear on your business goal. It can be anything from selling products, getting people to join your newsletter. It can be getting people to join your audience. There's, like I said, so many different things. If you've done step 1 and 2, I want to give you a little nugget, a step 2.5, if you will, that I like to keep in my Notion, which is how you're going to expand the framing of the video for a wider audience. So let's say you have your problem for the viewer that you're solving and your business goal, right? How do you make this applicable to over 100,000 people? Right? Start thinking a bit bigger. The way I do this is by taking that small problem and expanding the framing of the video and expanding like the way you would describe this to people. If you think about absolute beginners in the space, this is usually the best way to do it. I find that the videos that perform the best are very advanced concepts that are simplified for an absolute beginner viewer. Those typically do pretty well on YouTube. If I was taking a guide like this, helping people to get monetized, start making money faster, how would I describe this in the most basic way? I'd say going from 0 to monetized, showing how to get first play button maybe, or showing people that you can build a business with YouTube. Simplifying these ideas, right? This is where we start thinking about packaging a little bit. You want to just expand the framing, right? I think that more people could understand 0 to monetized versus what the value is in starting a YouTube channel, right? Starting doesn't really mean a whole lot of immediate value, but going from 0 to making money online, that's a huge amount of value. And the other thing I like to think about too, beyond just beginners, right? Beginners understanding the value of the concept is that there's a lot of people out there in the world. And if you're creating content in English like I do, there's a lot of people who speak English in the world as well. The vast majority of the people who speak English across the globe do not speak English as their first language. So if you can simplify your wording as much as you possibly can, so for example, 0 to monetized, obviously that's a YouTube concept as well. So people may not understand what monetized means. What about 0 to first $100 on YouTube? That's way simpler to understand, right? So if you want to expand the framing of a video, you've got to think as broadly as you can without sacrificing the depth and the context of your idea. Okay, we're through the first 3 steps here. I'm gonna get you to take a quick minute to come up with as many video ideas as you can and start thinking about which ones are gonna be the highest value for your audience. And then we're gonna move on to packaging, which is my favorite step in the process. Packaging is the title and thumbnail of your video, basically how you're marketing your video to the wider audience on YouTube. Yeah, we haven't even thought about what your video is gonna look like yet, and we're already planning packaging. That's the way I roll. I know a lot of creators who produce their video, they have it ready, they post it, and then they forget about it. But I think that strategy is all wrong because the packaging is the marketing behind your videos. It's what gets people to click and watch the thing that you made. So when I hear that people save the packaging or the marketing for last, I'm honestly kind of shocked. How are you supposed to know if people are going to watch your video if you don't even know how you're going to promote the video yet? So we're gonna start by brainstorming packaging on one of the videos that I was looking at. I am gonna pull up a different idea though, because I wanna think a little bit bigger. So the one I'm gonna go with is my YouTube channel isn't growing, should I give up? I'm gonna show you how I would brainstorm this. And I'm just gonna quickly put this together in my YouTube Notion to make this easier. So this is the page that I brainstorm my packaging on. It's actually really simple in Notion. Let me show you how it works and you can use this process for yourself as well. I'm gonna go over to YouTube and start by searching my title that I just entered in here. We're gonna start by figuring out some title options. And what we wanna do is look for videos that are significantly overperforming in comparison to the sub count of that channel. So for example, this channel right here, I think he has around 100,000 subscribers, 76,000, and this video has 519,000 views. This is definitely a video that's overperforming. So what I'm gonna do is take this title, drop it in my title generator, and just come up with as many options as I can. Ideally, I'm gonna try and come up with 10 if I can. So we got that. How to survive being a small YouTuber, the truth about growth. That's another good one. Let's drop that in here as well. This is why you're not growing on YouTube. A little bit more direct. And I'll even take my title too. Why not? We'll drop it in here. So we're just gonna come up with a few. I can already see that the ones that tend to be doing a bit better are a little bit more direct. How to get a small channel hell. This is why you're not going on YouTube. Dead YouTube channel. These are all a lot more direct of titles than the one that I initially came up with. So that's good to know. So I might reform my title into something a little bit more direct as well. Why your YouTube channel isn't growing and how to fix it. Or maybe we could do something even more direct. Do this if your channel isn't growing. The idea is that I wanna know how many different ideas I can come up with, and there's a lot of different title options here, right? My goal is to think about which one's going to be the broadest for that audience that I'm trying to reach, and it's still gonna show the context and the depth of my idea. Eventually, once I think about whether this is going to be an audience builder video or a more evergreen video, what I'm gonna do is figure out my testing order. If I'm trying to target the search audience, what I'm gonna do is think of something that's gonna be a little bit more search-based, right? A longer title, something that's gonna have a lot more keywords in it that people might be searching for, and that's gonna be my search-based title. So if I had to come up with an evergreen title, I'd probably do something like Beginner's Guide to Overcoming the YouTube Dip. Maybe something like How to Kickstart Growth as a YouTube beginner. Maybe that could be a better one, right? There's so many different options, but knowing that this is meant to be an audience builder video, right? It's direct, it's short, not really gonna have that much depth in there, like going super long form. I'd probably start with something a little bit simpler. So maybe why your YouTube channel isn't growing and how to fix it is where I'd start. For a testing order. And then if the video is not performing, it's a 5 out of 10 or lower, I usually like to change the title. So I'd probably do something like This Is Why You're Not Growing on YouTube. And I'd probably add the year in this just to make it more relevant than the competition. Maybe back to my original one. I still do like that one. I'll do that as a third option because I think that that's going to be a little bit more of a search-based title. So this will be my testing order. Now that I know what my title is going to be, I'm going to look at some thumbnail options, and I can see that this is going to be a little bit simpler. What I like to do is quite literally just screenshot ideas that I think are going to be really interesting and just start there. So when I'm thinking about thumbnail concepts, I like to think about coming up with 3 different concepts for A/B testing, maybe 2 if I'm really struggling, but I like to take screenshots and use those as references and build from there. So I have some screenshots, let me add them in here. Okay, so my 3 ideas are all added in here. I'm gonna start by brainstorming a little bit more in depth what I think this video should look like on a homepage or on the browse feed for people. Starting with thumbnail number 1, I like this idea. I think I wanna show a graph as the thumbnail and show an arrow at the point where it goes way up. is when you think about it, right, this thumbnail is going in tandem with why your YouTube channel isn't growing and how to fix it. So if I were to have an arrow pointing specifically at one point and then the graph on the thumbnail goes way up, that's going to visualize the change that we're making in this video. Add text that says one change, or alternatively, we could try something like, let's see, maybe we could even try like start doing this, or one more option I'd say maybe could be good is simple fix. And then you see it start to skyrocket. So these are words that go in tandem with our title. We don't want to use the same words as the title because they're already in the title. We want to build on the title with our thumbnails, right? So we're just going to take similar concepts. We're going to build it out. And then now that I know what this is going to look like, I can take a photo of me in the thumbnail, right? I want to put myself in the bottom left corner, right? That would be a good one. That's how I'd brainstorm a thumbnail option. Now, instead of writing out the text here, sometimes I'll just brainstorm them in here so I can swap them out a little bit easier. But I just like to write a little bit of a paragraph about what I want that thumbnail to look like and use reference photos with that. So for this one here, it would be a before and after concept, show me looking sad, X views, right? And then show me looking happy on the right. With Y views, right? That would be kind of the way I think about this when I'm brainstorming the thumbnail. So we can do that with 1 and 2. If you're going to do 3 thumbnail concepts, make sure the third one is a lot more experimental, trying something brand new, because you don't want to just have 3 that are very similar. It's kind of just a waste of your resources, right? So do 3 separate thumbnail concepts only if you have one that's going to be a bit more experimental. By the way, if you're struggling with any of this, I'd like to just go back to the core problems. What you can do is brainstorm a list of all the problems that you're solving in the video, and it'll make it way easier for you to come up with threads to package your video around. So if my channel's stuck, that's one problem that we're fixing, is getting growth momentum building. Another problem that we'd be solving with this video is helping people who are stuck, building up like mental resilience, right, to keep trying. Another problem that we'd be solving is building up belief in people that you can be a YouTube creator. So there's a lot of different problems we're solving with this video. If you think about all of those, you can brainstorm other packaging options as well. And now a quick few things I want to mention about best practices. So for titles, keep them under 55 characters in length. Otherwise, they'll get cut off by YouTube because they're a little too long. And then for thumbnails, there's a few best practices. You want to keep things simple. Never overlap your text with what's already in the title. And you want to keep just 3 to 4 elements large enough that they can be seen on mobile. If you're struggling to figure out what you can see, what you can do is make the thumbnail really small as you're creating it, like the size of it is on my screen right now, and just see what's visible and what isn't. If there's things that are too small, there's too much dead space, you want to fix that and make it as large as possible so mobile viewers, which make up at least 1/3 of most people's audiences, that they can see everything clearly in the thumbnail. Once you've actually produced your thumbnail, you can get feedback on all those factors really easily using my thumbnail optimizer GPT. I built this out and just trained it on the things that I look for in titles and thumbnails anyways, so it'll make it a little bit easier for you to get that feedback really fast. So you just have to enter in your title, submit your thumbnail, I'll press enter here, and it's going to give me live feedback on what I should improve and optimize in my video. So you can see that a lot of these focal points are already really good. Some of the things might need some feedback or some slight adjustments, and it'll give me a score on that thumbnail at the end as well, which is really useful. This is a really strong thumbnail, I'm not gonna lie. So it's really hard to make that adjustment. So I'll submit this one here and see if there's any corrections. So what I'll do is I'll submit another thumbnail here and see if it gives us any more feedback at all. Oh, no facial expression, concept isn't as clear. The thumbnail doesn't really match the title as well. It's gonna give us a 7 out of 10 on that one. Okay, that's good to know, right? So it gives you feedback on the things you can improve on, and it makes it as simple as possible to just get feedback live on your thumbnail as you're producing it. I have a couple other AI tools just like that one for analyzing scripts and titles as well. So if you want to get access to those, be sure to sign up for my email list down below and I'll send it to you directly. It's all entirely free, but I use these all the time, and a lot of my clients do too, to just live check things as they're being produced to make sure that they're meeting the mark and that they're going to perform well. Link is down below in the description if you want to do that. But before we move on from packaging, there's one more thing that we have to talk about, which is measuring the success of your packaging. How do you actually know if it's going to perform well? So for this video here, this video's got almost 1 million views right now, and it's got a 4.4% click-through rate. What you're looking for is ideally over 5% click-through rate, but the bigger the video gets, the lower that number is going to go. What you ideally want to see is numbers above 6, 5, 10%, as close as you can get to 10% early on with your core audience to know that the video is doing really well. Anything over 5 is good. If you can push to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, it's obviously like a great video within your niche, and it'll be easier for the algorithm to understand who your video is best meant for. Now, if you see that your impressions are slow, for example, and that the click-through rate is going up and down quite a bit, it means that your video is not really reaching a simple audience, and it's not as easy to find out who's going to resonate with that video. So the algorithm's going to check it with different audiences, and that's why you'll see it going up and down. And eventually it will start to slow down once the video reaches really wide audiences, because less people will actually engage with the video, because there's less people who are actually going to be best for this video the wider you go. If you do see that it's really up and down after you post your video, you can try changing up your title and thumbnail just to see if it's going to make any changes or adjustments. Now that we've talked about packaging, it's time to actually finally get started on our first video. Can you believe that we still haven't started our first video yet? That's the YouTube game. So step 5, now that we've got that all put together, let's plan out our content. Now that we know our end goal and the destination we're working towards, though, it should be a lot easier for us to actually be able to do that. Your goal is to do 3 core things in your hook. First, you want to relate to your viewers' problems. Second, show that you're credible to solve those problems. And third, you want to build up excitement and curiosity for the rest of the video. Starting with the viewer problems, you want to figure out an entire list of pain points that your audience or your viewer might have if they're approaching this video. Think about the ones that are the most emotionally resonant of those pain points, the ones that stand out the most, that cause the most pain, because those will be the ones that have the most value when you solve them. And you want to start by painting out those problems and the result that comes after the solution. Because if you've been in their shoes, you can resonate to the challenges you've faced on the path you're on. For example, in growing a YouTube channel, I could make a video going back to my YouTube channel isn't growing, should I give up? The true pain point with this video is, am I actually good enough to be a YouTube creator, right? If I can really hone into that problem and really lean into that emotional side that the viewer's feeling, it's going to be a far more powerful hook for them and get them really engaged. The second thing you want to do is show your credibility. Show that you've been in their shoes before, that you've been through the experiences, that you even solved that problem, or that you know how to solve that problem at the very least. Think about like psychological factors, for example, like maybe you haven't dealt with something, but you understand it, and you've even worked with people in the past who have had that same problem. That'll be just as effective. But build up, show that you're credible, show that you can solve their problems, because that will build up enough trust that you're the right person to help them fix this problem that they're trying to overcome. And then the third thing is get them excited. The easiest way to do this is by showing that problem solution, but also leaving a curiosity gap in the middle. So how do I go from the problem I have now to the solution, the other side where I am successful and I've had my problem solved? What is in the middle there? That's a huge curiosity gap that will get me excited to see what's coming in the video. Truthfully, these are the only 3 factors that really matter when it comes to a hook on YouTube. Beyond that, you're probably focusing on too many details, too much storytelling. Everything that you're doing in the hook should be doing one of these 3 things. And if you can't see it adding anything to the hook in one of these 3 ways, chances are you can probably cut it. To give you a quick framework to use, I built this out here. The easiest thing you can follow is start by relating to a viewer problem. Again, pick one single problem, the one that's the most emotionally resonant. Then you want to break apart the personal experience there. Like, what is that first person experience? What are you feeling? What are the challenges you're facing? How does it feel in the moment? And then talk about how you relate, how you were there, how you solve the problem, and then use that to preview the solution and the goals of the video. And then what you can do is just add in any credibility, like I have a degree, or I've been doing this for 5 years, or whatever that looks like. This format does really well because it allows you to connect to viewers in a way that's totally unmatched. So give us a try on your next video and let me know how it does. Which leads us to the core of the video. This is where things get really exciting, because this is where you're really going to be adding value to the audience. You're really going to be making a difference in people's lives with educational information, right? So let's talk about how you can actually outline this and what you need to think about as you're building out your outline for the video. So I've gone back to my Notion to create an outline here. And remember, we want to work back on the way we packaged the video itself. So if I were to think about the packaging, right, we're thinking about people who are stuck, we're showing them that transition point. The way I want to build out this video based on the packaging is around one central transition point that will help you to build up momentum on your YouTube channel and stop this like cycle of really seeing no growth, right? So next we want to figure out what the end is actually going to look like. And I'd say that the end of this video should come to a natural conclusion point where you have momentum being built, right? So what is the in between? What do we need to do? There's going to be a path. Maybe we build out a system, right? So maybe it's like a 5-point system. Your YouTube channel isn't growing. We could build out a 5-point system. I'd say probably like, what are the steps going to be? That's our next point, right? So step 1 is identify what content is resonating. Step 2, double down. Step 3, volume. You want to just put out more. Step 4, add in some personal elements. Step 5, like we want to build out this system, right? And that's one path. The alternate thing is you could just start with one transition point, because the framing, the packaging, we have one arrow pointing at a chart, right? So keeping that in mind, what is that one single thing you need to do? Can we just paint out one simple idea and just walk through that idea, show an example, and then give people steps to follow to do it for themselves? Isn't that a valid pathway as well? So maybe instead of doing this right here, we could just do a simple like 3 steps, right? So we're going to walk through the system, share a case study, and then step 3, what we're going to do is give steps to get started. That's all we need to do, right? It's a simple framework that matches the packaging there, right? So then the system, we can go through that same sort of thing. Case study, I'm going to walk through someone I know with a channel, went from 0, or maybe it went from 10,000 to 1 million with this system, right? We want to give a case study, and then the steps will be like actionable things you need to do. And at the end result, you're going to start seeing momentum being built and feel motivated to keep trying on YouTube at the very least. Going back to that doubt, as long as you feel like you can keep going, that solves the problem that we're trying to solve. So your goal is really just to deliver on the packaging, to make the hook make sense and build out content that's there. So maybe, for example, in this situation, I'm like, what if maybe a personal story also makes sense after this, right? With the case study. Maybe I try adding that in the middle here, right? Personal story. Is that something that's actually going to add value? Is this going to keep the momentum going forward? If I walk through the system and then I show a case study, do I really need a second story to build up that evidence? I'd say no. Which one's more powerful, the case study or my personal story? Let's say the case study is more powerful. Let's use just that story right there. You want to remove as much fluff as possible. Focus on the simplest possible path to achieving that result. And if you do that, you'll find that the audience will have a much easier time sticking around and following the content that you're producing. Next thing you need to do is just go through and do that for your video. I recommend that you brainstorm a full outline and cut back if you feel like you need to cut back, but just getting all your ideas down can make it a little bit easier to just get the writing flow started. So don't be filtering anything based on performance in the initial stages, just start by writing. And then once you've done that, we want to add in rehooks. These are sections in the video where we're rehooking the audience back into the content, because throughout there's going to be a lot of wins, there's going to be a lot of losses, and most importantly, if you're watching a video this long, you're probably going to get bored at some point, right? So the rehooks, what we're trying to do is get people re-engaged. So if we go to our example here, we've walked through the system and you now know exactly what you need to do, right? It's this clear system. The problem is, even though you know how the system works, you don't even know if it's actually reliable. You haven't seen an example, right? So for a rehook, after you see the system, you basically are going to introduce a new problem that exists after you've solved their first problem. We've solved the problem by showing them the system that works. The rehook, we're going to show them the next problem that they have, which is understanding how it works in practice, right? You haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen how this has actually worked on someone's channel. So you don't really have the systems yet. You're not really ready to do this yet. There's another problem you have to solve before we can end this video, right? Or get you to that end result. If you're solving a problem, there's always going to be another problem that exists. All right, so now that you've got your outline, we're getting really close. In fact, you might even be ready to film, but maybe you want to have a fully written script. So let's take a look at that next. This isn't something that I like to go into a lot of depth on because it's something that I think is very personal, and you want to make sure that you stick with your own voice. I feel like when people bring on scriptwriters to their YouTube channel, or they try and take as many writing tips as they can, it ultimately takes away that voice that you had a feeling like you wanted to share in the first place. So I tend to take writing tips with a bit of a grain of salt. What I like to do is share tips to make writing easier and make it sound more like your voice, because the outline should have taken care of all of the content issues you might run into. So let me share what I've experienced in growing my channel to 150,000 subscribers and some of the writing tips that I learned along the way, which was very up and down. The first thing is you want to read your scripts out loud as you're writing them. I find that I write in a much different way than I actually speak. So if I'm writing a script, what I like to do is go back and reread my sentences, reread my paragraphs, and make sure that it actually sounds like the way I would speak in real life. Sometimes, if I can't quite get it right, I'll leave sections in just bullet points to make sure that it's clear and easy to follow. And beyond that, the biggest thing is just remember not to ramble or go too far off topic, because it can really take away from the value of your video if you find yourself being repetitive or going way far off topic. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I have a script optimizer GPT. Again, if you sign up for my email list down below, I'll send it to you for free. Basically, all of my clients have told me that this has been really useful in getting live feedback on their scripts as they're writing. What you'll do is you'll upload your script or paste your script into this GPT right here, and it'll give you feedback on the top criteria I look at for hooks and for fully written scripts. It's super useful. I even use it for writing my own scripts. So definitely recommend checking that out. Again, link in the description for that one too. Once you've finished writing your script using the advice that I've given you, you want to come back and think about your business goals. I know it's been a minute since we talked about that. You want to make sure you add in a call to action or a full segment in the video to achieve your business goals. You want to make sure that every time you're writing a video, it does have some sort of purpose towards growing your business, because that's truthfully how you're going to make money on YouTube. Make sure to be personal, be straight up, and don't try to sugarcoat things. If you're promoting something, make sure you have to disclose it by law, but make sure you do disclose that to the viewers, because otherwise you'll run into a lot of trust issues with your audience down the line. By the way, at the end of every video, make sure you always have a call to action to the next video that they should watch. Otherwise, what you're going to find is that the audience goes to watch something else, and the longer you can make the session time for the viewers on your channel, the more YouTube's going to recommend your content. Again, if the viewers are enjoying your videos, they want to share that with other viewers who will also enjoy your videos. It benefits their platform. Once you've written a script, you can look at a few key factors to see how your video performed, those being your retention charts and your hook retention percentage. These are factors most people don't talk about. I don't like looking at your average percentage view because I think it lacks a lot of context. So what I'll look at is the retention chart. Honestly, I would say that this retention chart is pretty solid. I did lose some people here, but the biggest factor for me is that the hook looks to have lost quite a few viewers in the first 50 seconds. So to me, this would be a big red flag. You can also look at the hook retention percentage, which is this percentage at the bottom of the engagement tab on each video in Studio. So you can see that 78% of viewers are still watching at the 30-second mark. Ideally, I like to keep this as close to 80% as possible. And when I'm looking at retention charts, I just want to see where there's drop-offs. That's how I analyze a video. Very simple. Are people engaging with the hook? Did they like the hook? Did it match their expectations? And is there any sections where people are clicking off the video at a much faster pace than throughout the rest of the video? The other thing you can look at is your end screen element click rate. I like to keep this around 5%. This means that the people at the end of the video are clicking onto the next video in the queue or the next thing that they should check out. So 5% and higher is very solid. The higher you can get that, again, the better. So those are the factors I'll typically look at to measure the success of a video. Now that that's been written, you have to go and film your video, which is a big step. And honestly, for a lot of new creators, this can feel really overwhelming. So I'm going to share a few tips that I've learned to help make on-camera presentation a little bit better. And hopefully it'll help you feel a little bit more confident speaking to a box. Really, that's what you're doing. The first thing you need to do is warm up. In life, you kind of have to warm up for everything. If you're going to the gym, you've got to warm up. If you're going to play basketball, you got to warm up. If you're going to be singing on stage, you have to warm up your vocal cords. Why doesn't the same thing apply to filming YouTube videos? If I'm going to be on camera, I've been filming this video for 1 hour and 40 minutes at this point. I need to be warmed up and ready and in the zone to film this video. Otherwise, what's going to happen is I'm going to be out of it. I'm not going to feel in the right vibes. So I got to make sure that I warm up. The easiest way to do that, even if you're not feeling it, is to pull out your phone and record a voice note. Start by talking, start by, bringing up your voice, bringing down your voice, and also just like shake yourself out. It's like if you're going to go out and sing, you're going to dance, you want to make sure you feel like you can, show things with your hands. You have that body language for filming as well. This isn't always going to work. Sometimes it's going to feel a little rough to film a video. What you can do is just give it your best shot. Often what I find is after 5 to 10 minutes of filming, I'm going to feel a lot more in the zone. I also recommend you don't drink too much caffeine because you're gonna be a little too jittery. So if you have less caffeine, it's gonna be a little bit easier to film your video. Beyond that, just keep practicing. You want to make sure that you keep trying to film. Even if it doesn't feel right, keep doing it more and more and more. I hate filming in public, but I still force myself to do it because it's a skill set that I want to build up. I don't want to feel comfortable doing that. So keep trying, even if it does feel rough. Once you've filmed your video, you're going to notice that I don't have a section in this talking about editing because I think there's a lot of great editing guides out there. Ultimately, for the strategies to grow your channel and get your channel to $10,000 per month, it's not going to be necessary for you to focus a ton on editing. You want to make sure you get your video out and that you get it as high quality as you possibly can. But more importantly, if the value's already in your script, the editing should just be reinforcing what you've already written. So to me, it's not worth spending a ton of time talking about. Just focus on getting your first video out. That's number one. Which leads us to the big step. Number 8, monetization. If you're just getting started, you're probably wondering how you can get to $10,000 a month on YouTube through AdSense alone. And honestly, it's really, really hard. The truth is, if you do want to make money from YouTube, you're going to have to go beyond just AdSense. But what I want to do is show you my top 4 monetization streams on YouTube and how you can start earning revenue as soon as you post your first video. We are going to start by talking about AdSense though, because I think it's important. In case you didn't know, AdSense is the earning split that you get from the ads that play on your videos on YouTube. In case you didn't know this, YouTube plays ads before, during, and after your videos. And depending on your niche, you're going to earn a percentage of that revenue. It's always going to vary from niche to niche. I've seen people who make $50 per 1,000 views, and I've seen people who make 50 cents. So it is always going to be different. Basically though, YouTube's always going to take 45% of the ad earnings. And what's going to happen on the back end to make that number change is that brands are going to bid different amounts to run those ads. The more competitive your niche is, the higher the revenue is going to be. 55% of that ad revenue goes to you. That chunk is represented in YouTube Studio under RPM, or revenue per mille. You can calculate that by dividing your views by 1,000 and multiplying it by your RPM to see how your revenue actually works. I'm going to show you a bit of a back end behind the scenes from one of my top earning videos. So this video earned $3,900. If I go into the back end revenue, you can see that it earned just a measly $4.25 in RPM on 919,000 views. You can see that $3,800 of that came from watch page ads and then $5 from supers, a couple from short feed ads. I don't even know how that happened. But basically that's the breakdown. What you can see here is that this playback based cost for every 1,000 views is $15.92. So that's a CPM. What brands are paying is $15.92. But this number varies a lot, and there's a lot of other factors that come into play. So this $4.25 is the split of what brands have actually paid to get ads that have run on the video, right? That's what you need to keep in mind. There's always going to be a much different breakdown, but from what YouTube actually earns, 55% comes back to us. You can also see where the revenue comes from: skippable video ads, non-skippable ads. There's a pretty solid breakdown of different types of ads that have made money on this video. So if you want to increase your revenue, there's really only 2 factors, right? Your views and your RPM that can be changed, which is not a whole lot of levers that you can pull, which is why AdSense isn't that reliable of an income stream, because I can't control that 919,000 views on a video made me $4 per 1,000 views, right? Well, there's other people who are making 50, right? I can't do anything about that. But what you can do is slightly optimize the ways that you earn money by doing a couple things in the back end of YouTube Studio, such as going into your settings and making sure that all of the types of ads that you want to run in your videos are able to run. There is different filters. So for example, if you want gambling ads to run on your videos, you have to go and enable that because it's something that is typically reserved for adult audiences and it may not be enabled by default. That can help you to earn more money, especially for more competitive industries. You can also increase the length of your videos. I recommend you always keep them over 8 minutes in length because that's going to give you more time for mid-roll ads. Also add any mid-roll ads that you want throughout the video. YouTube won't always approve all of them, but the more you have, the more opportunities you have for viewers to watch ads will increase your earnings. YouTube will not play an ad if the viewer is likely to click off. Keep that in mind. Also, just ensure that you meet all the YouTube ad guidelines. Don't swear an egregious amount in your videos. Read over the ad guidelines closely when you're getting your videos monetized, and you're not going to put something in there that's going to get you demonetized. I did have a video that got 1.6 million views and it earned a grand total of about 25% RPM because YouTube demonetized that video, which was super unfortunate. But I was talking about vaping, which is an adult topic, right? So it got demonetized. Also, just keep in mind that there's different earning periods for different times of the year on YouTube. And I've found that across different channels, usually you're going to be earning different ranges of an average throughout the year. So in September, October, November, December, it's going to be a lot higher earnings. Specifically in November, that's the best time to post your super popular videos because you'll make a lot more in that month. Whereas January, February, they're pretty rough. Throughout the rest of the year though, it pretty much averages out. Keep in mind though that this is always going to fluctuate. It's really hard to control. There's only a few things you can do to really mitigate that. The best thing you can do to increase your AdSense earnings is just get more views, which is kind of a tough game to be playing. What you can do instead is build up your revenue depth. So for every view that you get, can you earn more from each viewer? And the way you can do that is through affiliates, sponsorships, and products. Starting with affiliates, this is basically a split that you get on sales that you refer from your videos. So for example, if I'm recommending that you try out this specific kind of monitor and I leave a link in my description, sometimes what will happen is the company will give me a split of the revenue that they make on that monitor and pass it off to me for referring them a sale. It doesn't cost them any money to make the sale. They didn't have to run ads. So it makes sense for them to just pass that commission on to me. You can do this through a lot of different services. This is a huge way to make money if you're a brand new creator. I definitely recommend that any new creator start off with affiliates. It's a huge revenue stream. The way that this works is that you're gonna funnel viewers to specific products throughout your video. Don't overdo it. Just do a couple of products here and there. And for each of the signups or sales or whatever the agreement is, you're going to get a fixed commission cost. So for example, let's say that there's a brand out there like a website builder, for example, that's willing to pay $75 for every sale, every sign up, paid sign up, for example, that I send to them. If I get 100 people over to them, they each pay me $75. That's $7,500 right there, right? That adds up quite quickly. So affiliate commissions can be huge. This is actually the easiest way for you to go from 0 to 10,000, the fastest way to do it as well. So some tips to optimize, you want to pick just a few brand partners that you can really focus in on. That'll allow you to build up your relationships with those brands and to potentially have negotiating power to increase the commission rate that you're earning too. You can use tools like Impact and Partner Stack to get access to a ton of brands and their affiliate programs, but alternatively, there's also usually affiliate programs on different websites if you can't find them on there. I recommend that you integrate affiliate brands into your content at high value points, like actually getting into the platform, showing them how it works, and making this tool essential. That's how you get the most effective conversions on affiliates, I found. And then once you've found that you're getting the brand a lot of results, I'd reach out to your affiliate contact and see if you can negotiate your commission rate. If you're bringing them a lot of sales, they'll usually be willing to work with you, increase your rates because you're a reliable salesperson for their brand, right? They want to make sure that you're getting paid because otherwise you're going to stop giving them business, right? So use that leverage to renegotiate. Don't overdo it, but it'll give you room to increase the commissions that you're actually earning. You can also share affiliates in newsletters, stories, community posts, anything to boost up those earnings, just as a pro tip. When it comes to brand partnerships, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you to actually land if you're a smaller channel, but once you get to a larger status, it'll be a great way for you to earn revenue on your videos. So basically the way this works is that instead of affiliate commissions, the brands will pay you a fixed amount to get a feature or to get content from you as an influencer. So typically the way this works is that you're going to get a multiplier over the revenue that you're already earning on YouTube. It can be anywhere from 4 to 5 times all the way up to 20 times depending on the amount that you're offering that brand. And you want to multiply that number by the average amount of views you get on a regular basis. I would recommend not using huge outliers to skew the data because otherwise brands are going to be expecting a large amount of viewership. But to calculate your rates, I'd take just averages and use that as a starting point. Remember though that you're going to have some negotiation in there. Ideally with brand partnerships, you're going to have more than just integrations into videos. You can give them usage rights for content. You can give them ads that they can run. You can even give them short form content. There's a lot of different options that you can use to increase that revenue. Some tips to optimize brand partnerships is to build up long-term relationships. Really, that's the biggest one. Ask for results, understand their goals as a business, and really, show that you care about how the campaign's going, right? If you can do that, they'll trust you, they'll want to work with you again, and they'll keep coming back to you and ultimately giving you more revenue down the line. Make sure you charge enough to scale brand deals as well. If you're undercharging and you're accepting rates that are way too low for you, you're going to end up, not wanting to work with the brand again. It's going to potentially sour your relationship. So make sure that you're not just accepting low value deals just to increase your revenue. Make sure that it's actually worth it because remember, your audience trusts you and you don't want to sacrifice that. And you can also, if you're getting started, work with a manager who's experienced in selling partnerships. I don't recommend that entirely though, because they will take usually a 20% commission on every sale. And because they get that commission, they're probably going to push you to take on deals that may not be super relevant for your audience. The best thing you can do really is to blend affiliate commissions and brand partnerships after a set amount of viewership, because that is really when you start to see a lot of higher earning potential. You know, you have the guaranteed amount initially. After a set amount of signups, you switch to an affiliate model. That's a great way to go. But the biggest one really is product sales. So if you're running an educational channel and you have a smaller audience, what you can do is actually sell products to increase your revenue quite quickly. It's pretty simple. Obviously, if product sales, you launch a product, something that's going to add value to your audience and solve some of their problems. The way I like to think of it is, instead of having partnerships or integrations in your video, you're just solving a problem at a higher level for your audience and giving them a higher level of value through a digital product. That way you're keeping 100% of the revenue that you get from that product, and you're also able to connect with your audience, give them more value, more depth with you, right? So this is a great way to build up recurring income and also a lead list that goes far beyond just, you know, your YouTube channel, which is a rented space on the internet. So some tips to optimize: brainstorm products that are going to be essential for your audience and help them to keep getting more results beyond what you talk about in your content. Promote your product regularly in your videos. Think of the content as a value add, not just as a product that you're trying to sell. You should be able to take your audience to the next level through your product, and that's where you're going to have the most value for them and get the most results. And build on your product regularly to create monthly recurring clients. Don't just focus on one-off sales. If you can, try to focus on monthly recurring revenue and build up communities if you can as well, because I found that to be a lot more effective for a lot of creators. Platforms like WAP and Circle and School make that way easier too. I've found that affiliates can be really effective for smaller creators to get that initial wave of revenue, and that's really the best way to go full-time within the first year of launching your channel, is just to have a hyper-focused niche with affiliate revenue really driving from the videos you're posting. And yeah, there's other methods that can come in after that as well. The biggest thing that I'd say is that if you're going to be promoting things in your description, limit them as much as possible. Don't have 100 links in your description. Keep it to 1 or 2 at most. And then if you want to have social links down below, you can absolutely do that. The more links you have though, the less action people are going to take. If it's overwhelming and it's hard to know where to get started, people are not likely to actually follow through. Keep that in mind. With that said, that brings us to the last step in this puzzle. And this one's really quite simple. It's just reviewing your strategy. Every month I recommend that you take a look at how things are going. How have your views climbed? How has your audience grown? How's your revenue grown? And really reflect on what's changed. Focus on your inputs. You can't control the views. You can't control the subscribers or even the revenue sometimes. But what you can do is focus on the inputs. Did people engage with the videos? Did you get responses from your audience that they really thought this was valuable? Then keep doubling down on that. Whereas if you hear from the audience that maybe there was something that wasn't as valuable or wasn't as effective for them, then steer away from those. You can use that and other guidance from your audience to keep refining the videos you're creating. But what you'll find is that over time, you'll get a pulse for what your audience really wants, and you can create more content for them that they're going to absolutely love. Just really remember to keep reviewing after every video, after every month, and just try to find different areas to learn. That's how you really grow the fastest on YouTube right now. You made it to the end of this video, which honestly, I'm really impressed. I've been talking for a really long time at this point. The thing is though, is the vast majority of the people who clicked on this video are not going to make it to the end. They're not going to watch this entire guide. So if you did make it here, it means that you have a significantly higher chance of succeeding on YouTube right now. But the truth is you have to take this information and take action on it. Get started. Keep trying. There will come a point where you will want to give up on YouTube, and the biggest advice that I can give you is to just keep learning. If you find that things aren't going well, maybe you make a pivot, but the people who fail on YouTube are the people who decide to stop creating. If this is something that you truly want and you want to make an income through YouTube, the truth is you always just have to learn the lessons, pivot, and adjust. There really is no failing if you don't give up. Most channels never even post one video. Very, very few of those channels who post one video post a second. Almost none of them make it to 10 or 100 uploads. If you can keep going, you will get results. In the meantime, if you want to take your channel to the next level, I open up spots in my program every few months where I help creators to launch their own businesses and make money, just like I talked about in this video. So if that's something you're interested in, I left a link down below in the description to apply and get started. I limit the amount of people I actually work with because I really, really want to make sure that I can provide results and help you to grow. So if that's something you're looking to do, let let me know and I'll be in touch. In the meantime though, I'm looking forward to seeing your channels and excited to see the audience that you can grow. Once you've posted your first video, feel free to send me an email and I'll check out your first video. I'm really excited to see it. Until next time, have fun creating.